dancing, right? All parts together. And then I started getting a lot of invitations, like Jaipur Literature Festival. If you know this festival, like if you reach Jaipur Literature Festival, they start calling you author. Like I was saying before also, and I was pitted against Mayawati's biographer Ajay Bose. And after that, I was called to Goa Literature Festival, Times Literature Festival, Kochi Literature Festival. I did some 70 events in next 6 months, and I was like not articulate, quite articulate then, right? I was just writing well, and all of a sudden this book made me author. And what I described Yogi Atanath as these 4 things, right? Because there is a Yogi Atanath that New York Times tells you. There's a Yogi Atanath that Washington Post tells you, right? There's a Yogi Atanath that Barkha, Rasib Sardesai, Wire, all of them tell you, right? But I was wondering that someone who's a 5-time member of parliamentarian, how come 99% coverage is negative on him, right? Like, why is he winning then if he's so bad? So then I took a team, couple of interns, and I went on a journey. I went to his village, spent a lot of time with his mother, with his father, traced everyone in his family. जो जहाँ मिला मैं पकड़ता गया. There is no one who don't follow any Hindi, right? Because I have a habit of switching to छोटा मोटा Hindi, right? That will work.
Not everybody.
Somewhere here and there. Yeah. So I went to so he lived in Panchur village, and like for the last mile you take your car, you have to walk, and the mother was only in the house, and we did not got a call done from anyone. We just shown up there, right? And the mother treated us well. She told me about Ajay Singh Best. He was fond of cows. He was very disciplined. He used to set his basta, bag before going to school and all of that, right? And then after this 3-4 hours conversation, when we came out, we like the urban travelers were doing a lot of photo with her, either by city went, and she poor lady was standing there, like, "Arey khana kha ke jana," and like we were getting goosebumps. She's Chief Minister's mother, and she's standing for us, and while we are taking our selfies of Yogi Atanath's house, right, in our urban style, and she was just standing here, khana kha ke nahi gaye, and that was Chief Minister's wife, right, and he was Chief Minister's mother. And then his father, Anand Singh Bist, was not at home, and he was in Kotdwar, around 3 years away. And I had to go to Kotdwar anyways, because that was where Yogi Atanath did his college. And you know what? He was coming back, and we just stopped him. Like, can you imagine? You stop with Chief Minister's father, and he stopped him. We sat and if you go in top 10 tweets, I have my picture tweeted with him. His name was Anand Singh Best. He died last year. No, he lived a good life. He was 89 then. When I met him, he was 84. And we sat in front of a Bist Chai Ka Dhaba. That was not his. He's also Anand Singh Bist. And we sat there for 3-4 hours. He got, because we were hungry, he got a pulao done in that shop. In a tea shop, somehow they had like some utensils to cook food, right? And he told us about a lot of very innocent humor. I'll tell you one small thing. So he said, he was a forest officer, right? He said, I'll say in Hindi because then the punch will come, the way he said, right? He said, मैं forest officer था, और आपको पता है उत्तराखंड पहले उत्तर प्रदेश का पार्ट था, राइट? सो मेरे बैच में यहाँ पे यूपीएफ लिखा रहता था, उत्तर प्रदेश फॉरेस्ट, और यूपीपी एंड यूपीएफ विल साउंड सेम, एफ एंड पी इज वेरी सेम, और वो द ड्रेस इज आल्सो खाकी. तो ना अजय के दोस्त सब मुझे पुलिस समझते थे, एंड ही लाफ्ड अलाउड, राइट? अब ये फ्रेंड सच ए इनोसेंट ह्यूमर, राइट? कि मतलब मुझसे डरते थे कि मैं पुलिस में हूँ. And then he said उनको गनर मिल गया था, because he became a chief minister. By protocol, you get a gunner. अरे अब मुझे असली पुलिस वाला मिल गया. It's just like, I know there's no connection, but yeah, that was his humor. So he told a lot of things, that how Yogi Atanath changed schools because of his job was transferable. So Yogi Atanath studied in some 6-7 schools, like, which is not normal, right? Like, we don't study in 6-7 schools by the time. In fact, in 11th-12th, he lived alone in the room with his brother, right? Which is like quite independent. We don't. Like, boarding is different, but just living by yourself in 11th and 12th, you are quite young. And that shows how he got like a tough life, right? And then he told a couple of things about him. And when we were going, he just held my hand. He said, "Mera wo neela ghar dekha hai? The one we saw with the mother was. That is the only property, the only sampatti I have. A lot of forest officers, वो ऊपर नीचे का बहुत पैसा बनाते हैं," he said, right? Like, forest officer, you can earn a lot of money in corrupt ways, but that's my only sampatti, that's my only possession. And then he stopped, and his voice was a little shaky, and he held my hand tight. He said, but मेरी सबसे बड़ी संपत्ति है मेरा ईमानदार मुख्यमंत्री बेटा. And whenever I say this, whenever we are 3-4 of us, we literally got choked the way he said it. And he was not saying it like just to make me feel happy and he's a cliched. Like there was so much honesty in how he said it, and I think that is echoing still with me and is echoing in Uttar Pradesh. And that's the feature number one. Rest all maybe whatever is written is fine, right? That's the feature number one. एक ईमानदार मुख्यमंत्री, which was not there in Uttar Pradesh, right? And as Amitabh ji said कि भाई संत को तो पहाड़ों में जाके बैठना चाहिए, आप राजनीति का आनंद क्यों ले रहे हैं? And when you ask him, he gives a simple answer. He never defends. He said, आपको पूछना पूछते रहिए. Like this is a feature of both the guys, the top guy and this guy. They don't defend themselves. ठीक है, आपको पूछना पूछते रहो. Double engine. Right. So he says, with Gorakhnath Math, I used to serve an area. With being a chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, I have 75 districts to serve. This is a lever for me to serve, right? I'll tell you 2 examples. That what a monk can add to the whole governance thing, right? And I was exactly telling the same thing in Howard Kennedy, that do you have any scholarship, any literature on that how this you have processes, you have technology, you have best of the governance processes, but what you will do this political actor? How will you make this political actor non-corruptible? Because human mind is very shaitan. In rest of the process, we can find a hack, right? But you need a non-corruptible proprietary political actor, and that can come only being by someone like Monk. Right? Or even Narendra Modi. He's also, for all practical purposes, he's a monk, right? The only thing he's not wearing saffron, he's not taken sannyas formally, right? But for all practical purposes, they both are same.
I think
in
fact, and then came back.
Right. And you know, when Yogi Adityanath became the chief minister, there was a WhatsApp joke, which was very common, that it seems there's a rivalry going on between Yogi and Modi, and the rivalry is on who gets up early. And Yogi wins it by 15 minutes. He gets up at 3:45 and Modi gets at 4 a.m. Meaning both of them lives a very hard, disciplined life, right? Now comes to this governance. So Yogi becomes the chief minister. The first file his officers give to him is that which car we should buy for you, which luxury car we should buy for you. He got a little confused, like luxury car, why? Like पिछले CM का साइकिल पे आते थे, pun intended. Right. So officers said no. There's a tradition. When Mayawati came, she made us buy a 1.5 crore rupees. I'm sure you follow crores, right? My mind doesn't work millions, billions. So she made us buy a 1.5 crore rupees Land Cruiser, and with security protocol, bulletproofing. That was quite a money for exchequer. And when Akhilesh came, he made us buy 2 SUV Mercedes cars that costed the exchequer 7 crore rupees. So that's the tradition, but he said like these vehicles are quite robust. They don't go bad in like 4 or 5 years, right? They run for ages. But officers said that's the tradition. The new CM comes and he got almost annoyed that I'm not here for like buying luxury cars. Just use the previous vehicle, which is already protocol ready and bulletproof and all of that. But he said, I will also make you spend some money, right? Mayawati made you spend 1.5 crore rupees. Akhilesh made you spend 7 crore rupees. Can you spend 250 rupees and buy a saffron colored towel and put in the seat where I'll sit? Right? And he said, that's not given to me by the people of Uttar Pradesh, by my party, to buy luxury cars. This is given to me to serve the people, right? And this can come only from a monk, right? This can come only from a monk. I'll give you example number 2. There are many examples. I'll not say all of them, otherwise you will not find the book. Right? So, if you know, he's never been a minister before, right? You all know, right? He's never been minister in Atal Bihari Vajpayee government, though he could have been, but and even in Modi 1, right? He was not a minister. So he was not attuned to the typical governance process, right? So what he did to train himself, he started reading budget from last many years, right? And all of you who run companies, I'm sure you understand that until and unless you don't put a budget to any activity, that's like in Hawa, right? So you can say a lot of things as a neta, but until unless there's a budget allocated to it, it means nothing. So he said, what we are spending from last 10 years, last 20 years. So he got intrigued by one line entry, right? Which is paying the taxes for chief minister and ministers of UP. He said, paying the taxes, why we pay tax? So he thought he didn't understand it well. He called as one of the finance officers. He said, what is this? I'm seeing it from last 20 years. I said, sir, ये तो VP Singh के समय से है. You know VP Singh, that the Prime Minister, he was the Chief Minister of also UP, right? So there are 4-5 people who were Chief Minister and then became Prime Minister also. Can we do a small quiz? Who are those 5 people? VP Singh, I already told you. Narendra Modi is simple one. Just shout it down. Don't raise your hand.
Charan Singh.
Charan Singh.
Devagowda is third. Chaudhary Charan Singh is fourth. Jagjeevan was never Prime Minister.
Gujarat.
Narsimha Rao. Said that. P.V. Narsimha Rao. P.V. Narsimha Rao was the Chief Minister for Andhra Pradesh for 3 years. Right, so these five people were Chief Minister and then Prime Minister.
Now the 6th one coming.
Yeah, now the 6th one coming. Yeah. So he said that when VP Singh was the Chief Minister, he put this law that the income tax for Chief Ministers and Ministers of UP will be paid by UP government.
Okay.
Maybe he found himself poor. And Yogi Adityanath got a little intrigued. Yogi, like, my cleaning staff pays their taxes, my chief secretary pays taxes, then why I can't pay taxes? Why my ministers can't pay taxes, right? And in just one stroke, he removed this law which was running for last 40 years. No one bothered about it. Maybe no one saw it, but let even bothering about it. Akhilesh Yadav declared in recent election a declared income of 40 crores. A declared income, right? Like undeclared, I don't even know. Mayawati declared like crores of income. And even after that, they never bothered to strike like income tax, right? So I have mentioned a lot of these things in chapter number 1. Chapter number 1 is not about anything, right? It's about his personal, complete non-corruptibility, right? And that's what irritated a lot of the gang, right? What is like, inko pakde kahan se, right? How can anything else? Hardcore work, right? And that's their lifestyle. What is Rahul Gandhi? And that's an easy comparison. Like in the height of election, for 3 weeks he was not in India. Can you imagine that? Like you have an exam tomorrow, like you are unaware, right? Akhilesh Yadav, you know, he's a parliamentarian currently. He's a member of parliament. From where? 84%. Can you guess what is Akhilesh Yadav's attendance in 17th Lok Sabha? 37%. 37%. Even less than Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi is also 45. So that's the competition with 37 and 45. But the point I'm making is that these guys are not even invested in their politics, right? Like you can agree, disagree with them. I'm fine. You can say bad things to Modi, Yogi. That's fine. But at least match their hard work to hard work. At least come to parliament, show up, right? And Lucknow to Delhi is a 5-hour drive or a 1-hour flight. You can come. So it's not about that. They're not even invested in their politics, right? So that's one. Now let me go back to my previous book. Yogi Adityanath is young, right? He was 44 then. And see, when Rahul Gandhi can be young in 51.
Youth icon.
Yeah, and Yogi Adityanath he's 48 and a half now, 49. So he's a young politician, right? I think for anyone, 44 is young for a politician. Your president is like very old, right? It's fine. Nothing. Because see, politics needs so much. It's not a kindergarten school. You have to run a country, so you need experience. So I'm nothing against age. If you're senile, it's fine. If you're sane, you're running it. If you're not losing, it's fine. So I'm saying 48 is very young. But a political commentary of Amitabh never came. Have you ever read a young chief minister of UP? No. New York Times read, what's her name? Some Kelly Berry, some such name. She said Narendra Modi made a militant chief minister. Like appointed a militant chief minister. And then a lot of people trolled her. She said, no, I want militant as a zealous and something. She tried to defend, but then she had to drop the word. A lot of people say Narendra Modi installed a cow-loving chief minister. Narendra Modi installed because it was Narendra Modi's decision, right? So Narendra Modi installed a Hindutva chief minister. All of that, right? No one told Narendra Modi installed a young chief minister. If I wear saffron, you stop counting my age. Point number 1, he's very young. Point number 2, that he's winning 5. He has won 5 Lok Sabha elections. And he's winning when BJP is doing bad in 2004, 2009. He's winning his elections with exponential margins, right? So he's extremely electorally relevant, extremely popular. As a parliamentarian, his attendance, his number of questions he has asked, private member bills, debates is like 1.5 times the national average. If I compare with Rahul Gandhi, like you can imagine. Right? I've done it in my book for convenience of comparison. But even if you do with national average, that's On the field, he's doing a Janta Darbar from last 20 years with almost 300, 400 people daily. So if I talk to 300 people daily, you'll get to know what's happening in your society, right? Like you will have a problem with your scholarship, she will have a problem with her Vidwa pension, someone has a problem with their road, and he knows like what's happening around, and he's doing from last 20 years almost every single day, right? Now people say, "Okay, ये सब ठीक है," but he doesn't know governance. He's a pujari, right? Like, yeah, he can do puja, that's fine, right? Then I made people realize that he means his mutt, he's running 44 institutions. And what are the institutions? Schools, colleges, full-fledged hospitals, allopathic, modern English hospitals, Ayurvedic hospitals, blood bank, dharamshalas. I stayed in 4-5 hotels during my research. Every hotel land was on some lease land of the mutt. See, Gorakhnath Mutt, Gorakhpur, the whole city is basically theirs, right? And when I saw him conducting himself, he's like a CEO, like firing people, signing checks. Like as you run an institution, right? Like I'm sure you will imagine running a 2,000 children school, running a 5,000 children college, or running a 300 hospital bed. I'm sure a couple of you must be doctors, right? Running a 300, 400 bed hospital is something, right? And he's doing it from last 20 years. He becomes a member of parliament in the age of 26, and who is his prime minister? Atal Bihari Vajpayee. That's the kind of people he's learning from. Who is visiting him often? Lal Krishna Advani, and his own guru Mahanta Vedanath was a 3-time member of parliament. So he's learning from the kinds of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Lal Krishna Advani, Sushma Swaraj, Pramod Mahajan, when he's only 26. And just 4 years back, 22, he took a sannyas. Can you imagine? Like I've shown pictures when he was in college. Like he's wearing bandana, he's wearing goggles, he's wearing jeans pant. People around him are playing guitar. He has a group of like girls and boys both, like any college boy will have. At the age of 22, you need like I think lion's grit to think that मैं संन्यास ले लूँगा, and that too in a mud which is like 20 hours away from his place, right? So all of that is happening. All of that is happening, and that's the Yogi Adityanath that I found out in my previous book. And what this very experienced, young, energetic, extremely popular, who understands governance like back of his hand, how he performed for last 5 years, that I documented in this book. I'll tell you an example. I was fortunately allowed in some of like very senior meetings, like a fly on the wall, don't contribute as if you don't exist, right? So that I can document, I can see his leadership style. In one of the early meetings, let me digress, just park it, right? Let me digress. You know what we did for the first 1 month, Amitabh bhai? And you'll be amazed, right? Because BJP was not in power for 15 years in UP, right? So none of the ministers were ministers ever. Only Surya Pratap Sai, if you know his name, is a poor gentleman. He wears sports dhoti. Like he was minister in when Rajnath ji and Kalyan ji. He was the only one. Rest all were new. So they didn't know governance. So what he did, because they were all new, so 9 to 6 they ran their office. 6 o'clock they all gathered in a conference hall like students, and every day one principal secretary was asked to present his department, and there are like 40 of them. Like you have to explain education, what you did in the last 20 years, what you did in the last 5 years, what you didn't do in the last 5 years, what you're going to do in the next 100 days, and explain me what are the challenges, right? And there was PPT, there were printouts with everyone, and all the ministers, all the officers sat from 6 to 9, food came in between, and some meetings went till 11 and 12 o'clock in the night, and this happened every single day for the first month. One day education, one day health, one day fisheries, one day so on and so forth, right? So they educated themselves about this is governance, and during those meetings, people got to know who's Yogi Adityanath is, because there was commentary also happening, right? So someone asked when airports topic came that UP has only 2 big functioning airports, Lucknow and Banaras. And UP is huge, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure you all know from Meerut to Ghazipur, from north to south, it's huge, right? And airports, good connectivity is one of the fulcrums for business, right? Someone, if you call from abroad, they will not take 20 hours roads, right? Then people proposed that okay, these can be airports, and like we were talking, and then when the discussion was getting summed up, Yogi Adityanath spoke for 8-9 minutes. And what he spoke made people drop their jaws. He spoke about like what kind of air traffic control we need in these places. Maybe Boeing can land there, and maybe this tarmac is maybe. I know that tarmac is not, that was the airport tarmac. And people were like, okay, this Panditji knows so much. And then you realize he was in aviation committee when he was parliamentarian in 3rd term. right? So being a parliamentarian is a very educative process, even if you're not a minister. You are in parliamentary committees, you are in standing committees, you travel abroad, even if you're not in government, right? And he's doing it from last 19 years, right? And in every meeting, his cabinet realized, oh my God, this guy knows his stuff. Similarly, his knowledge in agriculture, similar was his knowledge in education, health, everything. Just one more quote and then I'll move. I was talking to the previous director of AIMS. So currently there's Mr. Guleria. You must have heard his name because of the COVID thing. He comes and gives the press. Before that, there was Mr. MC Sharma.
Yes.
So MC Sharma ji told me that I used to be in a lot of Lok Sabha channel debates with Yogi Adityanath on a disease called Japanese encephalitis, if you know that. JES, Dimagi Bukhar, Japani Bukhar, as it calls in eastern part of UP. And he said that in all the debates, Yogi Adityanath knew far more than me. Who's telling this? Director of AIMS, that Yogi Adityanath is a true public health professional and UP is blessed that he has someone like him during the time of Corona. And if you have the book in your hand, let me read I've quoted four famous tweets about Yogi Adityanath. The Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, any chance can you loan Yogi Adityanath to manage COVID in my country? Craig Kelly, Member of Parliament, Australia. And you know what? I think one of the HSS member has taken an appointment and giving this book. I think next week to what's his name? Craig Kelly, right? So yeah, that was his governance. So in multiple fields, and people have realized that he understands Sanatani culture. He's trained in that. He has studied modern education. He has done BSc Maths. He has done first year of MSc before taking sannyas. And he has been in parliament for 19 years, very engaging parliament. He has asked, a lot of people say, okay, he is asking so many questions in the parliament, but what is he asking? He must be asking Ram Mandir, he must be asking 370, he must be asking Uniform Civil Code. He's certainly asking them, but he's asking for much more. He's asking like Indo-US relations, he's asking fertilizer subsidy, he's asking AIMS in Eastern UP, he's asking everything which like maybe a Shashi Tharoor will ask, right? Maybe in Hindi just. Right? So, only thing we never bothered to inquire. We took some electorally charged speeches to make Maruga mein so marunga, and so he's a rabble rouser, and that's why Modi made him. No, Modi made him because he is someone who understands Indian culture like anything. In fact, for my previous book, you know who wrote the foreword? Dr. David Frawley. I'm sure you know his name, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and Dr. David was a Padma Shri awardee, and he has a Sanatani name, Pandit Vamadeva Shastri. And his foreword is beautiful foreword. You know, one line that stands apart in that foreword, he said, Yogi Adityanath, among the available politicians, knows Indian culture as a scholar, not like knowing it, right? As a scholar among available politicians. And if he shows governance also, that's like cherry on the cake, right? So that beautiful combination is very difficult to get. That's why we are very lucky that we are living in such times. And he's electorally relevant also. Like, and there are a lot of sadhus, right, around who also know Sanatani culture, but they're not electorally relevant, right? They can't win votes. And that's why I'm saying we are lucky that he's electorally relevant. He has invested on us in his politics, and he's 5-time parliamentarian. And as Vandana ji said, that he will be the 6th one who might be Chief Minister and Prime Minister, but that's fine. I think there are a lot of other people also who may contest. But again, his CV is very strong. So, see, he's winning this election. I can take it from him. So, yeah, that's not even a question. The only thing, the academic question is how many seats are we getting, right? Yeah. So just imagine he's finishing his term, this 22-wala term, in 27. By the time he's 48 then, 48, 49 plus 5, 54. He'll be only 54. He'll be 5-time parliamentarian and he'll be 2-term chief minister of a state like Uttar Pradesh, whose population is 220 million, which is almost 70% of this country's population. There are only 4 countries in the world which has more population than Uttar Pradesh. India is one of them. I think China, India, US, and what must be 4? Indonesia, I think. Yeah, Uttar Pradesh's population is almost as good as Pakistan's population, right? So why I'm saying the population, because that big a population he's managing. and he's only 54, he's electorally relevant. Can you tell me any other leader in any other party in India who has this, who will have this CV when he or she will be 54? I doubt anyone, right? So, he will be Prime Minister or not, I think God will decide. But again, no one can match his political CV and his popularity, right? So, that way it's fine. Now, coming to the governance part, I'll quote one or two examples and then I'll answer one question and answer. I wrote an article in Indian Express, and maybe you want to refer it when you go back. I did a tough thing. I did a Modi-Yogi comparison, right? Which is a tough thing to do, right? Both are stalwarts. But by the time Yogi Adityanath was a stalwart, but he just came as a chief minister. So it was a little easy for me to do. So I did 2-3 similarities, and then what Yogi can learn from someone like Modi. So similarities were a similar thing. They get up early, they do the yoga, pranayam, puja, they live a very disciplined lifestyle, they're extremely popular, you can't put a speck of nepotism on them, they don't care about the family, all of that, right? The difference is that when Narendra Modi went to Gujarat, he had a good Gujarat, right, to make better and best. But when Yogi Adityanath came to Uttar Pradesh, he had a treacherous Uttar Pradesh, there was, the lowest hanging fruit was quite high, right?
Ulta Pradesh.
So there was nothing. The state was characterized by cheating mafia, car stealing mafia, every kind of mafia, right? That was the image of Uttar Pradesh. If you read the subtitle of my book, I say how Yogi Adityanath changed UP wala bhaiya abuse to a badge of honor. UP wala bhaiya was almost abused. तो UP से आए वाले come on. Why? Because आपकी तो डिग्री भी फेक होगी, आप जो डॉक्यूमेंट लाए होंगे फेक होंगे. I can't even trust them. You know, lot of people say कि I had 67% in 12th, लेकिन ये राजनाथ सिंह वाले 67 है. Did you get it? Right? I think a lot of people are raising their hands with pride. Right? ये राजनाथ सिंह वाले 67. What does that mean? That he's cheating है बिना वाले 67% है. And can you imagine? Rajnath Singh, Kalyan Singh, they bring this law against cheating, and Mulayam Singh Yadav come. He said, I removed this law, and he said that publicly. He said Yadav, and he said in public कि 10th pass कर लो cheating से पुलिस में तो मैं भर्ती करवा दूँगा. And they have audacity to say this on camera. Akhilesh Yadav on multiple occasions have said, छोटी मोटी cheating तो सब करते हैं, मैंने भी cheating करी है. He's saying this rally. This is the message he's giving to the youth कि cheating करके pass हो जाओ. And see, okay, that's fine. But this becomes the branding of Uttar Pradesh. When they land in an interview in Mumbai or Bangalore, they say, "अरे Uttar Pradesh का है, चलो देखते हैं," right? So the whole state gets a branding that आप तो cheating वाले लोग हैं, right? So that state was given to Yogi Adityanath. That's difference number one. Difference number two with Narendra Modi, that Narendra Modi, before becoming the chief minister, becoming the prime minister, was part of the Sangathan. He has played multiple Sangathan role, organizational role in multiple states.
He was party president.
He was never a party president.
No.
He was a Sangathan Mantri, something called a Sangathan Mantri, right?
Yeah.
Which if you know, there is someone called Sunil Bansalji, there is someone called B.L. Santoshji in the center, he was a Sangathan Mantri, right? But so, meaning that he has managed multiple elections, he has managed Karyakartas, he has built party in the cadre, versus Yogi Adityanath, he is not a typical BJP party person. The first time he comes electorally, he becomes a member of parliament. Because Mahanta Abhinab was getting old, so that seat was passed on to him, and he nurtured that seat very well. So his coupling with BJP was not as strong as it was for Narendra Modi, right? Third point, I think Narendra Modi has this uncanny ability to create smart teams around him, which are not party, like non-BJP, which are not bureaucrats, like someone like Prashant Kishore. Prashant Kishore is a creation of Narendra Modi. Now he is where he is, but he's a creation of Narendra Modi. Someone like, what's his name? A Jain guy, who in fact gave the Become 272 plus in 2014, and he started Niti Central, a lot of other things, and he was a banker. He pulled people like Arvind Gupta, the current IT head Amit Malviya. These boys have patents in their names, computer science patents in the name. Amit Malviya was the current IT head. He was a banker in Singapore. You have to attract talent. A political party doesn't pay you, right? Yeah. So Vipul Dubal has come from the bureaucracy. I'm saying Narendra Modi has an uncanny habit of getting non-government, literal people. If you find you smart, you can do things for the country. Okay, come in, right? Yogi Adityanath, just let me complete my thought. I'll come to the question answers, please. Let me complete my thought, and then we'll do interaction. Yeah. otherwise I'll lose it. I'm like not sleeping for last many days. Yeah. So this, I think Yogi Adityanath will catch up. I see Yogi, Narendra Modi is what he is after like being in office of Chief Minister after 4 terms, right? So we have to give this space to Yogi Adityanath. He's also learning it. So these are the difference that I find in both of them. So picking from the example that there was no low-hanging fruit, I'll just tell you one example and you will realize what I'm trying to say. You know what is PDS? Public distribution system, meaning the ration delivery, where you distribute cheap or free ration to people, right? So in Uttar Pradesh, there were 4 or 5 things that were happening in the ration space. First, from the FCI go down, when the truck goes to the ration shop, there are only almost 80,000 ration shops. Half of the sacks are like siphoned off and sold in open market. They travel to dhabas, they travel to whoever.
Yeah.
That's number one. So if you are a beneficiary and I'm a kotedar, they're called kotedar, the one people who run ration shop owner, you will come and ask me on Monday, ration aa gaya kya? Isn't nahi aayega, abhi kal aayega. You will ask me on Tuesday, aa gaya kya? Aayega. And then you will maybe wait for 2-3 days, you'll come on Friday.
Khatam ho gaya.
Arey, ab kal aaye nahi, kal aaya tha.
Khatam ho gaya.
Right? And that was the way. And वो कल आया नहीं था, वो तो वहाँ चला गया ढाबे में. He sold it to some nearby motel, right? This is one. And in my records, you have taken ration. In my records, like in my ration records, I have put because you are not educated, you don't even get to know that I have given it to someone, right? And people are not getting ration. Come Yogi Adityanath government, what happens? All the trucks were marked with GPS. They were given a route. Every truck was monitored with a central control room. If they detour 5 km plus, they get called, boy, where are you going? Come back. And there are multiple arrests were made whenever there is. That's point number one. Whenever this truck reaches the PDS shop, 80,000 of them, you know what happens? Super, very simple, interesting solution. Whole village gets a SMS that your ration has come. I'm sure none of you are techies. That doesn't need rocket science, right? 2 nodes are matching. You have to fire a function that okay, pull SMS, right? उनको ऐसा है आपकी अब he can't say कि कल आएगा परसों आएगा, right? ठीक है, ये तो हो गया. लेकिन अभी भी you can take my ration, right? There are 14.5 crore beneficiaries. 14.5 crore. Why I'm saying the number, but I'm sure you can imagine, right? All these 14 crore people were Aadhaar seeded, right? And all these 80,000 PDS shop owners will given a POS machine, which can honor an Aadhaar. From last 3 years, 97% transactions of Uttar Pradesh are happening on Aadhaar. You can't take my ration until unless you cut my thumb and take it, right? And it's not easy. Getting 14.5 crore people Aadhaar seated, educating them that this is the way ration will be given, giving 80,000 POS machine, charging them their electricity, no electricity, these gadgets don't work in extreme conditions, with dust, all of that, right? Sorting all of that. And then from, I forgot the number I put in the book, they found lakhs and lakhs of ghost beneficiaries, if you know what is that term. Ghost beneficiaries, who names are there in the list, but who never existed in body and flesh, right? And government save almost 1,000 crore rupees every year because of that, right? So there are multiple such examples I quoted, and this is meticulous. This is not like some chota solution ki aise kar diya, and you need a lot of grit and determination. You will get a lot of backlash. These 80,000 kotadar owner will make your life tough because aap to unki amdani kharab kar de rahe ho. You are making their life tough. Right? A lot of people have dropped the ration shop. They are not doing ration shop for the ration shop. They are doing for something else, right? Thousands and thousands of people have dropped the ration shop. Right? So I have quoted multiple such examples in my book that how governance had happened. I just point out to the second last, the 10 books, 10 chapters in the book, 9th chapter and 10th chapter. 10th chapter is double engine ki sarkar, right? That how the governance of Narendra Modi, solid governance of Narendra Modi in the center, coupled by the meticulous governance and implementation, has helped UP to raise where it is. There are 45 central government schemes where UP is number 1 today. And I'll tell you some matrices where 5 years back, I being a UPite could not even imagine that कि UP इस वाले में मतलब number one, number two तो छोड़, I'm सोचेंगे भी, right? Ease of doing business. These was right for like Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. We don't know business, right? We only know katta business, right? So from 13th, 14th, UP becomes second. GSDP, UP becomes second. There was a award for police responsiveness in Dubai. UP got third award, better than NYPD. The responsiveness of 32 minutes in Akhilesh of the government, now it's 7.5 minutes. So I'm saying, for a modern developer, this might be a normal matrices. But if you compare a UP of 5 years from the UP of 5 years and before, these changes are not. In fact, when I started writing the book, me and my publisher decided that the monk who changed Uttar Pradesh, right? But when I completed the book, I said, no, this is not change. This is not change. That's why we very consciously, not to just exaggerate, we changed the term consciously from change to transform, right? So this is what I documented in 10 chapters. 9th chapter. This is literally the last thing I'll say. 9th chapter is the cultural renaissance of UP, and that's also very important, right? I'll tell you 2-3 stark examples, right? Mandir verdict came, just keep it apart. Let's say you don't want to give credit to BJP government. I can tell you that there is a huge credit to BJP government and the whole Sangh Parivar. But again, let's say you don't want to give all the credit to the courts, right? What was Ayodhya known for before 2017? I'll tell you 2-3 things. So if there is a high court hearing, there will be 10,000 police वालों कि आज दंगा हो सकता है, verdict आने वाला है, या verdict की hearing हो रही है, आज Supreme Court की verdict की हो रही है, कुछ दंगा हो सकता है, right? These were the news you'll get कि ये तो विवादित जगह, it's a disputed place, right? Come 2017, the first year, you know what happens? Deepotsav. 100,000 diyas. Second year, 500,000 diyas. Who travels to for the event? Korea's first lady. Whole of the world covers it, right? A Vivadit Ayodhya becomes a city which is honoring state guests, right? Ramayana ballets from Indonesia, Thailand are coming and displaying there, right? When I used to go to Ayodhya in 2017-18, the hotel aggregator sites used to show me 1 hotel, 2 hotels. Now there are 20-25 hotels which have upgraded themselves for tourists also, right? And recently this year they made a Guinness Book of World Record for 800,000 diyas, right? Yeah. And these diyas were made by locals. A lot of people are flourishing. And when a lot of people come there, hotel business, eating business, taxi business, all this puja ka saman business, it's flourishing. Even without a temple, the place is flourishing already. Once the temple is there, it'll be a whole Vardhan of Lakshmi Mata. Right? In fact, the day verdict came, some hardcore lefty tweeted, "Ki ho gaya aapka mandir, can we talk economy now?" And I replied back, and the tweet became viral. I said, Ayodhya was taken away from this economy for this artificial case that was going for almost 70 years. Right. Tirupati is a 3,000 crore rupees economy. If you just let's keep the culture, religion, Vishwas apart, Tirupati itself is a 3,000 crore rupees economy. Ganesh Visarjan in Mumbai itself is 500 crore rupees economy. Do you know the Kavan Yatra that NDTV people hate a lot, right? Then itself is a 200 crore rupee economy. That's a 21-day event. A 21-day event is a 200 crore rupee economy, right? So Ayodhya is this economy was snatched from the people of Ayodhya. Not only Ayodhya, the whole of eastern UP and Bihar. And now once the temple will come up, oh my God, that area will flourish economically also, right? So not only that Kashi Vishwanath corridor, I'm sure you must have seen that day. My God, how blessed that day was. Your Prime Minister is coming and taking part in such a religious ceremony. And I'm sure some of you and all of you, many of you must have visited Kashi Vishwanath. This is one of the Jyotirlings, and it was like sub-lanes. Once you go inside the temple, you are there because it's very important. But it looks very chota. You see, grandness has its own awe, right? You want to see your things as grand, and then you will see you see up, you see a Gyanigapi mosque, and say, okay, this temple, my mother said it's important, it will be important. But now when you see, oh my God, it's so grand. And what's his name? Bimal Jalan? No, Bimal Patel. I forgot. The architect who has done this renovation.
Yes.
He describes it beautifully that now it's connected with the river Ganga, right? And like when you take 2-3 steps of the Ganga, you just see the little bit of Gopuram. Oh no, the flag, the Bhagwa. Then when you take 2 more steps, you'll start seeing the Gopuram. When you take 2 more steps, all of a sudden you see the temple. Like it's just done in taste and style, right? That's that. Something like Dev Deepavali, something like Mathura ki Holi, they all are celebrating with huge grandeur now, right? Mathura is being a municipal corporation, Ayodhya is being made a municipal corporation, a lot of money is being flown in a lot of this cultural religious activity. So that chapter is very dear to me, that how we have seen a cultural renaissance in last 5 years. And with this comparison, I'll end that. You remember in 2014 when Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister, before taking the oath, he went to Kashi and he said, "Ma Ganga ne bulaya hai," and he did a young Aarti, the whole bus, and all this Barkha gang and everyone said that, oh, even before taking the oath, he's showing such a Hindu flavor. Will he be the Prime Minister only for the Hindus? What about the secularism, all of that, right? In this country, whenever a president of United States takes an oath, they go to a particular church in Washington DC.
Yes.
Though people tell me that that's not a part of an official ceremony, but that's happening from donkey's years. That's happened every time.
Yes.
Do we hear a commentary that a Christian Obama is becoming a prime minister? Do we hear a commentary a Christian Joe Biden? We don't, and I don't mind with their personal faith before doing being a president, prime minister is a big thing, and they are just repositing to the faith before taking the oath, which is fine. But when a Narendra Modi does it, it becomes a Hindutva thing. When a Joe Biden does it, it's a part of a ceremony, right? So I think we have to make sure that we constantly compare them. You know Angela Merkel? Now it's a transition and she is, you know what is the name of her party? Christian Democratic Party, right? I've been to Germany a couple of times. The state government gives an endowment fund to every church, and which comes from the taxpayer money. They don't give to the same to other religious institutions. Do we make commentary on Germany? No, they are the one who is teaching us human rights and all of that, right? and they will publish some random report and say, no, India mein secularism nahi hai, right? You go to a particular church before taking oath. Your party's name is Christian Democratic Party. Your government is giving money to churches by taxpayer money, and we are not secular, right? So I think now is the time to make this commentary with like front foot, right? Not like, yeah. That's all I tried to document in the book. Maybe, and then maybe we can do a question answer. Just for, I have done lot of dry talk. I want to play a rap song, which some of you might have heard. With the previous book, a volunteer made that song. I found it a little cheesy that time. Like it's a serious book. You want to make a rap song in a book, but when we get very
A wonderful leader, the fearless Yogi. इनकी तारीफ इनके काम से ही होगी. Dirty politics इनके आते ही खत्म. बड़ा simple सा है पहला काम, ज़्यादा बातें कम. सबका solution इनका जनता दरबार. कोई मजाक तो नहीं होना MP5 पागल का नाम. योगी योगी करते हैं सारे यहाँ पर. पूरी कहानी सब जाने कहाँ. कलरफुल लाइफ ये कैसे सफल हुई, and how come अजय became a yogi. ऐसा क्या हुआ सब बदलने की चाही. If you wanna know पढ़ो इनकी कहानी. पढ़ो मेरे brother, पढ़ो मेरी sister, the story of the one who believes in God.
This boy composed it, sang it. Yeah. So that's for me. If you want to ask anything.